Does life really begin at 40? They say life begins at 40. Yet, what if the truth is even better than that? What if this is the decade where you finally stop performing, people pleasing, start living your truest, authentic self and the version of yourself that you don't even know is in there? Because I have firsthand experience with this. So, the first one I would say is the most common one that you hear, which I'm actually going to rebuff right away, is you finally know who you are. I didn't know who I was at all. I was still living hardcore in the people pleasing camp. It wasn't until I hit my 40s that I became so uncomfortable with not knowing who I was and the people pleasing behaviors and feeling empty and eating lots of Ben and Jerry's super New York fudge chunk that I was like, enough of this. Like it's not working. And so it caused me to actually go on a discovery journey of who I was and heal myself. So you could be in one of two camps. You could be, I know who I am and I know what I like and what I don't like. Or you could be in the camp that I was in, which is, I'm going to figure out who I am and discover my authentic self and heal myself. So then I know who I am. And so those are two things that can occur during this time frame. Another one is you start to care less about approval and more about what's alignment within yourself. And that's why number one is so important, because how do you become more aligned if you're not sure who you are? But it does occur in the sense that you've seeked out approval. If you're anything like me, you've seeked out approval your whole entire life, and you've done and checked off all the boxes for everybody else's list except your own. And I finally got to the point where I was like, no, that doesn't feel right to me anymore. But as I worked through my 40s and into my early 50s, I discovered more and more, nope, that's not for me, because I learned to listen and trust and build a relationship with my intuition. And the more that I tuned up my intuition and tuned down all the stuff that was going on here, I was able to start to say very quickly, that feels off to me, or that feels right to me. So that is another one that's very key. For me, it was working on my intuition and really boosting that up and getting more in alignment with that. Your power is not fading, it is arriving, is one of the ones that I feel for me, I claimed my power during that time frame more than anything else. And actually, wasn't until almost my early 50s that I really claimed my power. Because I grew up in a world where the men in your life had all the power. And because I grew up voiceless and feeling that it wasn't safe to claim my power, or I saw power being misused, I was fearful of it. And it wasn't until I realized that I never claimed my power. That was the first part of it. So I claimed my power, and I realized that I had given it away at a lot of deep levels. And once I reclaimed it, then I was able to really step into it. And power doesn't mean that you're a bitch. It just means that you now have boundaries, you know what works, and you're not, for me, I wasn't fearful to say, no, this is what I'm going to do because this is what feels right to me. And it's okay that you don't understand it, and it's okay that you don't accept it. I'm not asking you to. I'm going to do what's best for me. And that was the power that I was cultivating. Another one is time changes. Because when you're young, you have all the time in the world. Someday, someday, someday. And someday turns into now. Because it is now. This is the time. This is the time we get our stuff together. This is the time it's great to shift careers or heal yourself or figure out who you are or become the best parent to yourself that you can be. Even now, because it's never too late. And because the someday feels like it's getting smaller and smaller, it pushes the now into being a bigger and bigger and bigger word. So I feel like time is one of the things that definitely shifts perspective. And learning to be in the now is one of the things that's really key too. And enjoying and savoring your moments and putting your phone down to be present way more. So you feel like the day doesn't fly by because you weren't present in it. The days that you're the most present in it are the days they feel like they go on for eternity, or they fly by because you had so much fun because you were so present. And creating more of those, I found in my 40s and into my early 50s now, has been a huge game changer. I find myself all the time saying, okay, get back in the now, be present, be present. I'm a future person, so it's really key to come back into the now. So the other thing too is what matters to you changes, like in the sense that, before you maybe cared about the big house or the picket fence or the car or the job or the money or whatever. But now you start to notice, I want deeper friendships that are really supportive and aligned with me. I crave to have a, an intimate relationship that's more like this. And again, when you go back to number one, you know what that is with so much more clarity. And you start to say, but this doesn't work for me anymore. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm going to change my standards. I think that's a big one. Your standards change because what you accepted before, because you kind of felt like maybe you didn't have the power, the voice, the knowledge, whatever it may be, shifts into, I'm not going to accept this anymore. My standards changed. I want to be in a relationship like this, or I want to have a marriage like this, or I want friendships that are more like this. And when you define what that is and those standards are, you start to say, okay, this is what works and this is what doesn't. And you can start to change your life according to that. So you feel like you're living your most authentic life. You feel like you're in alignment all the time with the choices that you're making. So that is why I've discovered is when you make those shifts and the changes and things like that, and you become these pivots, like kind of almost happen by themselves. Again, taking action is always important, but I find for me in my 40s, it was like almost like the world was shifting like around me, guiding me to do these journeys. Opportunities would show up and the uncomfortability would show up. And it just kind of, some of it just occurred on its own. And if you just kind of watch for that and kind of just go with it and know that these things are here to benefit you, it makes life so much easier than fighting against it. And remember, I would say one of the most important things to remember for me was just because life is changing, it doesn't mean it's a crisis. It doesn't mean that you're falling apart. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means to me, now have been through it, that you're awakening. You're like not unraveling in a bad sense, like you're unwrapping, to get to the core and the essence of who you truly are without all the other stuff that you've carried around for all these years. You're starting to put more baggage down. You're letting all the suitcases of conditioning and all of the things that have occurred, that you're just putting them down. The baggage is going away. And the more baggage that you can release through healing and stepping into yourself, the happier and more joyful life really truly is on the other side. So I hope this video was helpful. Comment below if you have any questions or if you've had any insights yourself with this. I know other people would love to hear it. So let's keep going, because wait till you get to 50. Woo! It really up levels.